passion, desire, a deeply unknown want that drives us. What we know as lust comes in many forms, but the one we're talking about today is green, hairy, and has an ass that's only outsized by his freshly swollen heart. We're talking about the Grinch. Now, when looking at which of the Grinches is the hottest, I wanted to stick with a very specific criteria when it comes to my own personal ranking. I chose to rank these Grinches in 3 categories: looks, personality, and to not date this video, X Factor. You can call it Riz, you can call it Aura, but 15 years ago we would have been calling it swag, and I didn't want to do that to this video. Alright, so which of the Grinches are we rating here? We're only going to do on-screen versions of our sexy green stud. There's so many different prints of that original book, let alone other Grinch books that they released. One of those Disney adults who talks about books on TikTok can handle those. Plus, I don't know how to read. I'm also mostly not counting parodies here. No Family Guy Grinch, no Tiny Toons Grinch, no Grump from the Marvel comics. We're only doing actual universal Grinches, except like I said in one very special case. No browser games, no mobile games, and I'm not gonna pay actual money for that awful looking modern Grinch game. I'll talk about whether or not he's hot, but I surely won't be playing it. The rest of the gamer Grinches were god awful enough, and apparently this one is the worst? No way. This green bastard is lucky I played the other 3. But yeah, movies, television, and video games. Grinches of the screen, if you will.
A great performer doesn't act. They live. I have been trained at Juilliard.
Alright, Grinch worms, enough wasting time. Let's get it crackin' here. No other place to start than that little cartoon we all know and love. The 1966 television special, Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Produced by animation legend Chuck Jones and first airing on CBS, this program is what most people over the age of 40 think of when they hear Grinch. As far as his looks, this design is such a perfect combination of cute and cuddly, but still intimidating. Even more so than the original Dr. Seuss book, this is what I envision when I think about the blueprint of what the Grinch should be. The hands especially are my absolute favorite of any of these designs, looking sharp and clawish without losing any of that Grinch fuzziness. He's got that big fat Grinch gut to put on your back if that's your speed, but he is a little more slender compared to a lot of the Grinches. You also get your classic Grinch features like yellow eyes and crooked teeth. Comparatively though, his teeth really aren't that yellow, but definitely crooked enough to make that Grinch dome a little hit or miss, to say the least. It is worth mentioning how absolutely adorable our boy gets when his heart grows 3 sizes. Not to mention he gains the strength of 11 more Grinches. Oh my. This version of the Grinch is voiced by Boris Karloff, who also played the narrator. Not to spoil anything coming later in the video, but I also interviewed a ton of people on who they thought the hottest Grinch was, and most people who cited this version pointed out that voice. Karloff is such a part of what makes this Grinch so iconic, so scary, and so domineering.
I must stop this whole thing. Why, for 53 years I put up with it now.
And boy, oh boy, is he nimble. So much so he even goes off model at times.
Pooh-pooh to the whoos, he was grinchily humming.
With a runtime of under a half hour, we don't get too much into the nuances of his personality here. Really just covering the basics of the Grinch story. He hates Christmas, he hates whoos, he hates the roast beast. Not too much to unpack there. Nothing really to write home about, but overall a pretty attractive Grinch. You can see why he made such an impact, and that really doesn't hurt the appeal.
Coming.
You'd think it'd be Jim Carrey time now, but no. We got a lot of Grinch to cover in between that most people don't talk about. Except Ding Dong, apparently.
We are all very familiar with the Grinch. Grinch is the Cat in the Hat.
Why?
That's right, Mr. Dong. We're talking about 1982's The Grinch. Grinch is the Cat in the Hat. First airing as a special on ABC, this sucker won a Primetime Emmy for Outstanding Animated Program, beating out Someday You'll Find Her, Charlie Brown. Not the Charlie Brown Cuck special.
It's great we have so much in common.
No, bro, don't go in the crib, no!
But enough of the logistics, y'all know why we're here. You see, the Grinch is now voiced by Bob Hope, who doesn't quite have the natural sounding bravado of a Boris Karloff, but definitely puts his own little stink on the Grinch voice.
The sounds that you make are the sounds of my choice. I can make you sound better or make you sound worse.
And speaking of stink, I gotta address the elephant in the room first and foremost. This Grinch showers? He even combs his hair and scrubs his little booty butt. Look at that big smile when he wakes up. Who even is this guy? And that smile has absolutely perfect teeth, much like the next Grinch we'll mention. Plus, look at that long neck. Other than that, though, we get all the wrinkles, the yellow eyes, all those traditionally unattractive elements that our boy pulls off so well. Overall, this design might be closest to the original book, and you still get those peak design Grinch fingertips, for the most part. And look at those lashes, absolutely lovely. Not as lovely as that Grussy right there, though. How'd they let him get away with that one? Sure, he wakes up smiling, but his bid is a twin, and that hot set of wheels he drives only seats one. But there can be adjustments to that bachelor lifestyle if we decide to make this a thing. That's not the big issue that needs addressing. That's the fact that this Grinch is actually schizophrenic, which is fine. It's just something that I think he should probably be medicated for.
I think the time has come for thee to repeat the Grinch's oath with me.
In fact, the ungrinching of the Grinch in this story involved the Cat in the Hat singing about the Grinch's mom. And yeah, that's exactly as weird as it sounds. So in this Grinchiverse, not only is the Grinch a big mama's boy wuss, but there's also in-laws you gotta deal with if this turns into something serious.
You probably love your mother-in-law.
Wait, no, they say when they're singing that she's looking down, and Grinch's home is way up on the top of a mountain. So, I think the Grinch has a dead mom. That's a heck of a tragic backstory, and later on he even talks to her ghost like she's goddamn Yoda. Get this man on some medication, please. Maybe that one they advertise on YouTube all the time.
It was the worst when I had a schizophrenia breakdown in Washington, D.C.
This version of the Grinch is probably one of the most handy with the tech too, bullying the feline in the fedora using only light and sound, which I gotta say is pretty creative. He's a funny little science Grinch, and I enjoy when the Grinch is a Jimmy Neutron head ass. You gotta love a man with hobbies. He even built one of my favorite tropes in fiction, the plot convenience monitor. Plus there's this.
Take this up to my shop on the 39th floor.
That's a huge house. I'm not materialistic, but I'm just saying here, folks. Most notably, though, the whole point of this special is how Grinchy Poo has trouble confronting his feelings, which doesn't bode well for communication at any level of a relationship. But if you're looking for something a little more short term, you gotta consider
that Grinch. Deep inside his freaky freakness.
Halloween is Grinch Night, a TV special that aired on ABC in 1979 where the Grinch was... Wait, 1979? Jesus Christ, how did I mess up the chronological order already? Oh well, f it. Alright. Voiced by Hans Conried, I think that's how you say his name. Instead of baby boys Boris or Bob, the Grinch now sounds more like an old-timey gangster man.
It's a wonderful night for Grinch night. Their troubles will now commence.
At first glance, this kind of seems like more of what we've already been seeing. A little of the original movie, a little of the original book. But that's until you notice one thing in particular. Human hands. Yeah, the fingers are a little sharp, but I'll be goddamned if those aren't human hands on this green bastard. Later on, we see him close up Mr. Boss style, and yeah, they're actual human hands. They're not Grinchy at all. Way too far in the other direction. You really lose points when you start hitting the uncanny valley. But you gotta point out how gorgeous those teeth are. Are those even real? They're probably even better than a certain modern Grinch with famously nice choppers. And those lashes and brows? On point. They even get up and fly away at one point, revealing his actual eyebrows and a level of self-care and beautification that's very rare, if not completely unique in a Grinch. Plus, watch him get sturdier than a mug right here. That's always a positive. And look at that pooper. Good night. On a less fun note, though, one thing I haven't pointed out yet is this Grinch, as well as the original Grinch, actually whip their dogs. Yeah, not a great look. Use that thing on me, for God's sakes, not the puppy dog. Max does leave Grinch in the end, though, and outside of one single tragic backstory,
Look at that hack job!
probably the worst I've ever felt for this fat fuzzy fuck. Side note, but not really a side note, what even is that magic goop with eyes that takes poor Euchariah to the evil Heffalumps and Woozles world? I do not like the Grinch having cosmic horror powers. What if there's an argument and he goes all goddamn scarecrow on me?
You wanna know how I got these scars?
He does have shrinking and growing powers, if, you're into that. Alright, back on track here chronologically, we're going to the wubbleless world of Dr. Seuss. Running on Nickelodeon from 1996 to 1998 and produced by one Jimothy Henson Company. According to IMDb descriptions, the Grinch appears in 6 of these episodes, so those are the ones I watched. Never checked this out as a kid or even knew it existed until I was researching Book of Pooh for a different video. So if I missed 1 or 2 Grinch episodes, my bad. Now don't think just cause this is a puppet he's automatically gonna be low on the list. Trust me, I love puppets. And this version of the Grinch is very soft and cuddly, but he's shaped like and moves like Big Bird, eliminating a lot of the sexiness for me. It's like Oscar the Grouch's fur on a miniature Big Bird's body. He also seems to be the shortest of the Grinches, and that matters to me, but if you love a short king, knock yourself out. But I will say this little robe he rocks, very sexy. Probably the outright sexiest fit I've seen the Grinch wear, ever. Leisure Suit Larry, Playboy Grotto ass Grinch, this is the one with the freaky freakiness. Don't you dare put a black light on that robe. His voice, though, feels kinda forced.
I seem to have misplaced my swarm of singing, stinging zingers from South Gadeen.
But to be fair, he has a great broadcast voice and an even better singing voice.
Get out of my place!
And he's got jaunts? Damn, he's cool. I can see why he sings in almost every single one of the episodes he's in. Oh, and he's got an absolute cannon.
Oh, man. Thanks.
And the ability to phase through solid objects. That's incredible. But no, in all seriousness, how do you mess up using a green screen? I mean, come on. Well, in this case, it's probably a blue screen. Unlike other versions of the Grinch, though, this one is an actual piece of shit. bullying children and heckling comedians like another couple famous puppets we know. But he's really a big softy underneath it all, crying when they throw him a little surprise party. And he seemed to improve on how he treated Max as the first season progressed. He even does this cute little thing with him. Plus we get the Max Grinch meet cute and the Grinch meets his Max. Though he does show he can be pretty jealous, so you gotta take the good with the bad. As far as season 2 goes, not much to unpack, but in the Cat in the Hat's Flower Power, you do get a good shot of the Grinch's lovely PS1 style home. Personally, I like more pixels in where I'm gonna be settling down, but that's just me.
Yeah, we're going home, Max.
You know what time it is, the moment you've all been waiting for. I know what Grinch you want, and god damn it, I'm ready to give it to ya. That's right, the video game Grinches. In 1984, we get Dr. Seuss's Fix Up the Mix-Up Puzzler for the Atari 8-bit, Commodore 64, and ColecoVision. One of the puzzles in this bad boy was indeed the Grinch, but just a single picture's boring, so we're not counting it. Over a decade and a half later, in November of 2000, we got 2 actual Grinch games starring the Grinch. The first of which was available for PS1, PCs, and of course, the Dreamcast. So I went to eBay and got me a copy. But good grief, this game is awful. We're not here for a review though. We're here to talk about the sex appeal of this Quimbly looking motherfucker.
Ew, ew, ew.
His long fingies are very reminiscent of Jim Carrey's Grinch, and his booty might be flat from doing this thing, but it's stronger than a mug. In fact, the muscles on this Grinch in general are pretty impressive. You might be looking at the most athletic Grinch period. That high-ass jump and excellent core strength doing this funny little swing. Despite his big gut and bad posture, our boy moves like a ding-dang gymnast. But with all that being said, not every character works as a low-poly model, and I think all that green really makes the Grinch unbearable in that style.
Oh, I swear to God, if I had my Grimbly gun on me right now!
His itchy butt and bad breath show how bad his hygiene is, with the latter being terrible enough to kill things and make full-grown Who's completely disintegrate. I'm not crazy about his voice in this, and despite how athletic he is, he's a bit of a klutz, as shown in the opening cutscene. And I know this is supposed to be the Jim Carrey Grinch, but he does not have that shit on. He looks like he's walking the dang Undertaker to the ring. But on a more positive note, he is very intelligent, making himself a badass self-flying sleigh, and even showing off how good of an artist he is, including doing a little sculpting. Plus, he's actually sweet to Max, and you know how important that is to me if we take things to the next level. And for what it's worth, this is another Grinch with the ability to phase through solid objects. And you could get pretty freaky with that, I think. Wait, hold up. He's a cool motorcycle guy? What is that, a bonus level? I don't know. I don't care enough to look it up. All I know is cool motorcycle guy, definitely noteworthy. But overall, not looking too good for this Grinchy poo. His frame rate makes me sick, and frankly, so does this.
Hey, who are you, Big Daddy?
I really have nothing to add to that. But apparently they did, because this is what happens next. And then he hits the Skylar White?
Happy birthday, Mr. President. Happy birthday to you.
Later that same month, we got a Grinch game for the video game system that single-handedly ruined my eyesight when I was just a baby. The Game Boy Color. Now in the cutscenes, our boy looks great. I love his design in those. He's got his big yellow eyes and some sharp yellow chompers, but overall, this is the best looking video game Grinch, period. Including the one that came out last Tuesday or whatever. He's even a little intimidating at times, and even more zesty. Oh my. The actual in-game Grinch, though, kinda looks like a piece of lettuce. But at least that's healthy. And from the looks of it, he's wearing a COVID mask, so double healthy, really. But I assume that's for his sake, not the whose. Especially when you consider a whole ass mechanic in this game is breathing on people. And that's some points against him for that classic Grinch Zackley breath. But look at the length of that tongue. Wowee. But no arch when he's on all fours, so we see where his strengths lie. So the first thing we notice about the Nintendo DS Grinch is his big sack swinging around. That's right, he actually uses Santa's sack to snatch up presents in the game. Pretty crazy, huh? Oh, and his meat is fucking massive. Look at the size of that moose knuckle, good gracious. This really isn't a bad looking sprite though for a portable console, especially compared to the nearly incomprehensible Game Boy Color sprite. He's very cuddly looking here, and I am a big fan of those yellow overalls, of course being a reference to the outfit he stole from the Yodeler in the 2000 film.
Oh. That's it, I'm not going.
And bonus points that it's so flattering. And those lashes on the completion screen might have me hitting a completion screen of my own, if you feel me. What the hell is my life? This game's got text-based cutscenes like his goddamn Twisted Metal 1, so that about covers what we see of the Grinch. But it is worth noting there's nothing about him learning his lesson in this. Nothing about his heart growing any sizes. Does this story just cut off early? Or are we looking at one of the most toxic Grinches yet? I guess that's up to the gamer to decide, but he definitely loses points with me if we don't see that accountability firsthand. Oh, and again, no arch when he bends over. Come on, Grinchy, you gotta throw that thing back. So here we are, at the very definition of the uncanny valley. The latest and least greatest video game Grinch. I won't be spending long here because I think this Grinch is foul. Not only does he run weird, almost as weird as that Dreamcast game runs, but every single one of his movements looks strange. He's a walking, talking version of that one scene in Sonic Adventure 2 where Sonic's bebopping around the jail cell. He's a good athlete, I guess, and yeah, he's techie, but that's probably because of his massive head. And despite being a big freaking science whiz, he's mute. He just sits there and smiles like a big idiot while they literally read the actual Grinch book. God, I'm so glad I didn't pay money for this game. Moving on. Enough stalling. I've seen my demographics. I know what Grinch you've really been waiting to see. Folks, here he is. The Grinch of my childhood and the star of my favorite one of these pictures, the Jim Carrey Grinch. This SOB needs no introduction, so let's get right down to the nitty-gritty of it all. This is the Grinch that bags the baddie. This is the Grinch that lands the jaunt. This Grinch canonically f***s. Okay, maybe not that last part, but boy, oh boy, is it heavily implied.
Hello, Martha.
And goodness gracious, is Martha May gorgeous. I mean, look at this shot. Who's a hotter who? Nobody. That's who. And the fact this Grinchy bags her, those little ratings go through the roof.
My heart belongs to someone else.
But when it comes to the Grinch himself, physically, the first thing you notice, well, the first thing I noticed at least, is those long fingers. But on a less, positive note, he's probably got the nastiest teeth we've seen yet. I mean, we actually see the buggies crawling all around in there. He's also got the worst hygiene of any Grinch, it seems, with his socks literally crawling away at one point. When you look at the Grinch's face, though, he's, for obvious reasons, much more human looking than any of the other Grinches. And yes, the wrinkles are there, but what they did with his lashes? Subtle, but absolutely lovely. And this here is one of them big brain Grinches for sure. Techie to the point of even building his own jet-fueled sleigh. But honestly, probably handy might be a better way to describe this Grinch. He's got a lot of little contraptions and such. And that techiness extends to his good home security system. And everybody wants peace of mind where they're settling down. I guess until things are a little noisy and a small girl walks right through the doggy door.
Hello?
This is probably the funniest Grinch though. And he's very much funny by design. You really get the sense that he's doing bits and he knows it. We're laughing with him, not at him, as pathetic as he is at times. And you do see a level of self-awareness here that you don't see in any of the animated Grinches. So that bodes well for communication long term.
Am I just eating because I'm bored?
And those yellow overalls we mentioned earlier, one of my favorite, if not my favorite Grinch fit. Actually, no, when I think about it, second to this one. But we'll get there.
The muscles.
That's right, Martha May. Not only is this Grinch a stellar athlete, but he's also firmly anti-cop. And he eats glass. Wait, why did I list that in the good stuff? We also get some lore on Who reproduction, which I think is kind of tangentially related to the video in a way, so I figured I'd mention it. There is this line, though, that kind of throws things off for me.
He looks just like your boss.
But the more important lore we get here is the Grinch-specific lore that the town spouts out to Cindy about our mean green sex symbol. And oh yeah, Vector baby, is this the most sympathetic Grinch far and away. Talk about tugging on the heartstrings. Overall, this is gonna be a very hard Grinch to beat. The feature-length film really lets them expand on his backstory, and Jim Carrey gives so much personality and humor that's synonymous with the Grinch today. But let's see how the rest of the competition stacks up.
Who among us?
I surprisingly got a lot to say about Illumination's Grinch from 2018, so to try to kind of keep my thoughts organized here, I'm going to break this Grinchy down into his pros and cons. Alright, pros first. This fella is very cuddly, very soft looking, more so than any other Grinch by leaps and bounds. And he showers? He even uses a little bit of the smell good, which I actually think in this case smells bad, but it's leagues past what other Grinches are doing. Plus, he's got beautiful teeth, almost perfectly straight and not yellow in the slightest, despite what
Tyler the Creator
tries to tell us. I didn't even notice they were slightly crooked until all the way at the very end of the movie, the last scene of the film. And to be honest, he is way cuter than any of the Who's, especially the Who's with beards. Why are they so hideous? Goodness gracious.
Thank you, Mommy.
This Grinch is probably the nicest to Max. I love Edge in my Grinch.
He did what in his cup?
Sure, but if we're together, you can't be mean to the puppy dog. Our boy apologizes after being a little rude to him during their jam session. The other Grinches would never. He's even nice to that morbidly obese reindeer, which honestly I think might be too much for me. I can't have a dang zoo in the household. Allergies are too bad. I'll start sneezing. Wait, what if I'm allergic to the Grinch? Wait, he lets the reindeer go back to his loving family? That doesn't seem Grinchy at all. I know it seems like I'm talking a lot about how he treats animals, and I am, but it's pretty indicative of this Grinch's personality as a whole. Cute and lovable, but lacking the problematic bad boy behavior of previous iterations. Not to be materialistic, but this Grinch seems to have the nicest home. All that Grinch tech he's become synonymous with, plus it seems to be the most accessible of any Grinch house, which is good because our parents aren't getting any younger and I want them to be able to come visit the grandkids, you know? This Grinch is cultured with his big library. He even knows how to tie a tie.
I wore a tie.
What a distinguished gentleman. But one thing he isn't is evil. He's just got anxiety. I don't know if that's relatable or hateable, probably a little bit of both, because God, he is such an absolute dork in this. Were they trying to make him a Tumblr sexy man? What, they saw how the world reacted to the Onceler and they thought they could make another Dr. Seuss character sans Undertale? Well, guess what, buddy? That's my job. So I guess that brings us to the cons. This Grinch is not cool. In the slightest. And a big part of that is the Benedict Comfort Grinch voice, which sounds the exact opposite of intimidating.
This is one of your kidding things. Finally, something you said is actually funny.
It's revealed he dyes his hair, not a bad thing really, but something to point out, I think, showing his 53 years in some ways more than the original Grinch. But he's also way less wrinkly, so it probably evens things out. And for the first time on this list, lumping in a supplemental piece of media, this is the same Grinch shown to be sick in The Dog Days of Winter, a short film from Illumination that accompanied 2020's Trolls World Tour. I'm not saying that makes him weaker than the other Grinches, but I don't recall anyone else being sick. And I'm not counting him because I'm trying to fight communism, but look at this cute little Chinese minion Grinch. And also, this is definitely the clumsiest Grinch. Which is kind of weird when you think about all the Batman-ass tech he's built to go with his Bruce Wayne mansion in the caves. I heard he has episodes of Naruto on his hard drive up there.
The Grinch came.
Dr. Seuss's The Grinch musical, airing on NBC in 2020. Easily the worst thing to happen that year. Has that joke been made yet? This friggin' play has been scrubbed from the internet. You can find plenty of clips, sure, and that's how I determined my opinion on this young man at first. But I could not, for the life of me, find this thing in its entirety anywhere. Not on any streaming service, not on any dirty, nasty pirate site, not in the $5 bin at my local Piggly Wiggly, nowhere. That wasn't until somebody sent me a Google Drive link. The musical theater dark web? Anyways, this is the most outright sexual energy of any Grinch by far. Everything he does is full Frankenfurter, David Bowie, and Labyrinth type shit. Moving in a way that's like, Mr. Grinch, this is a family program. And I'm not alone in feeling that way.
Viewers complained that the Grinch's performance was over-the-top sexual. Bizarrely sexual interpretation of the Grinch. And I'm literally gonna need to see my therapist.
Even get some Rouge the Badass saxophone when he shows up. How are we not supposed to think this guy's a sex symbol? Come on. And Max as the cute little furry girl? Not funny American Horror Story Max, no. Yeah, that Max. What am I supposed to say about her? It's easy when they're like drawings or a few pixels, but this is a real life person, so we're just gonna move on and focus on the Grinch himself. But just know that her and their relationship, big factor for me in this. The Grinch himself, though, got a big fat ass and those lashes are poppin'. His teeth are nasty for sure, but better than most Grinchies. He's got those big, strong, broad shoulders and that classic big green Grinch booty. Did I bring up his butt twice when I wrote this? I did. I mean, it's important. I'm glad I did. But to be fair, I think all the Who's in this have big fat asses for some reason. Must be all that candy.
Just don't make my butt any bigger.
To be honest, I'm a huge fan of this Grinch's makeup in general here. Not just the lashes, but I guess it's supposed to be his actual skin, so I don't know, maybe he's a little greasy. He's the best singer.
One of a kind.
Technically, but his singing voice and especially his speaking voice just aren't very Grinch. Except here.
I'll take the Who's pudding. I'll take the roast beast.
I don't know, like I've been saying this the whole time, but I need a little bit of edge, and this Grinch, while super campy, lacks the sarcasm and grit of a Grinch that more so hits the nail on the head. I have to say though, bro does indeed have that shit on. I love a good Grinch fit, and good golly gosh, I tell you what, our boy knows how to dress. Plus, he's definitely one of, if not the best dancer in the mix. Great hair, too. Not just a little tough to grab while he's... No, this handsome fella has a full, luscious do up there. Plus, whenever he talks right into the camera, good grief, that's just not fair.
We're not here to enjoy ourselves. I hate your couch.
He's kind of cool sometimes, but most of the time he's just a little too much, even by Grinch standards. Theater kid ass Grinch. I could not deal with those Deadpool ass quips. Plus there's this.
Max!
So, yeah.
Timber for the single folk.
Look, a lot of people say that this is the best Grinch, but I've never met the man, so I wasn't gonna count him. I said on-screen Grinches only. But not only do we get a bunch of video content of him from fans, but we also get over 20 minutes of him riffing and reading the original Grinch book.
And everyone was sad and slightly mad, and they all went home. The end.
Plus a ton of other promotional videos from the official Universal Studios Hollywood YouTube, including ASMR and even a podcast. So, we're counting him. First and foremost, this Grinchy has green eyes. Not hazel or nothing like that. Nope, they are Grinch green.
Oh, when you stare at me with those eyes, you're just so piercing, you know? No, they look great.
Do you want a little bit of it? Hold on.
It's hard to look away.
He does have those Grinchy wrinkles, those nasty looking Grinchy teeth, and an even nastier Grinchy attitude. I see why so many people love this version of the character, invoking so much about what Jim Carrey nailed when he was the Grinch, but sporting a unique design, with a gorgeous mane of hair and putting his own little sour spin on the personality. And boy, oh boy, the lashes are lashing, and the ass is assin', I tell you what.
Shake it, baby!
He also looks so cuddly. Second probably only to the funny Minion Grinch. Plus there's that whole video I mentioned of him doing ASMR by eating an onion, which is both overtly sexual and overtly Grinchual.
I think I need to have a Grinchy nipple.
He's a clumsy little guy too, but it's nothing if not cute. He's not great in the workplace seemingly, so hopefully you watch all the way through enough commercials on this channel to support us both. But hey, he's at least trying. But if he snores like this all the time...
Hello?
A deal breaker, ladies.
He's not good at baking. I guess I'll handle the breakfast. But man, this guy really can't pull the weight of his big fat ass at all. And when you look at that podcast, there is a lot to talk about. So for time's sake,
Stop laughing. It's not fun.
I'm not going to get into all of it. But a big green flag we find out is that he goes to therapy. Love that. Need that for a Grinch. Plus, I gotta add, he's very funny. Even if not always intentionally.
That was awkward, right?
There is this to chew on, though.
My feelings for Max are obvious.
Yeah, no comment there. Wait a second, that's a dude?
Another time that Universal's gonna get you wet.
Okay, let me get this out of the way. I love that Funny Terrifier Man actually moves like the Grinch in this movie. Take notes, Blood and Honey Poo. But back to why we're here, we're talking about the mean one. One of the big things that makes this slasher villain really stand out compared to actual Grinches is the fact that he's massive, an absolute unit. He's stronger than hell and way less cuddly than any of the other Grinches. Very unkempt looking. And his eyes aren't yellow. They're not even green. They're red. But those hands are surprisingly soft looking. Might be nice to hold. And those teeth, very dirty, but not super crooked, by Grinch standards at least. But he's eating human flesh instead of roast beast. Plus he can't speak. He only growls and shit. That's a bad thing to me, but I guess that's up to your own taste. Monster fuckers. I will say though, he is pretty funny in a sick sort of way. And he does have a tragic backstory, but honestly, that's just how people would react if you were a stranger in their home talking to their child in the middle of the night. Not nearly as tragic as some of the other Grinches, and frankly not nearly as tragic as they wanted it to be.
Monster!
Goblin, ghoul, a zombie.
Overall, this Grinch doesn't seem capable of love, let alone romance, especially this far into a spiral of evil and madness. I don't care that he kept the necklace or whatever. He's a killer. He eats people. Well, whose, I guess, but still. Big red flag.
Hellboy? Bigfoot?
You can see it's a monster.
So there you have it. My top three are the Jim Carrey Grinch, the Universal Studios Grinch, and the musical Grinch. And we'll roll the rest of the list right now. Look at all them sexy green SOBs. Wow. But honestly, it's not up to just me. This video's not called Who Do I Think is the Hottest Grinch? It's Who is the Hottest Grinch? Not only did I ask all my Tinder matches for the last 3 months, leading to classic answers like this one, but I conducted field testing. That's right, Gonzo Grinchin'. I interviewed a wide array of gorgeous vixens and lovely homosexuals, and also Dustin.
I want to the Universal Grinch.
And there's a few things you're going to find with this data, like the fact that which Grinch you like is typically generational, seemingly finding comfort in the Grinch from your childhood. I'm far from alone as a millennial picking Jim Carrey's Grinch. But if you're over 40, you're probably more inclined to pick the cartoon. But you take a look at the numbers and decide for yourself. I'm over this green motherfucker. Merry Christmas, you horny little freaks.
The hottest?
I'm sorry?
You're asking the Jewish person which version of the Grinch is the hottest?
What kind of question is that?
This is supposed to be funny?
Like, sexually, or...
Boris Karloff or Jim Carrey?
The recent cartoon one, there's something about the voice that just, like, draws me in a little bit.
I can't do the new Grinch because he's very childlike. That's weird.
And it kind of feels weird. I like when he goes like that. I think I like Jim Carrey.
Just because it's Jim Carrey. I mean, it's Jim Carrey.
The Jim Carrey version, because he just looks like he can I can't explain it.
The one that probably came out in like the 90s or whatever.
Okay, maybe the Jim Carrey version, because it's actually real and not animated.
Definitely the cartoon version, Moms.
Actually, I can't explain it. Martha May. Martha May was a f***ing baddie, right? And Martha May could have literally had like the mayor of all of Whoville, but she wanted this like random f***ing dude on a cliff somewhere by himself. He's the most aggiest f***ing guy. He can f***ing fuck.
Definitely Jim Carrey version.
I'm gonna have to go with Jim Carrey's version.
Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey, hands down. I would do dangerous things to that man.
Jim Carrey.
He's so charismatic. I'm a sucker for a bad boy turned good.
He's just got the physique, the slutty little hips, some might say.
Jim Carrey. It's live action for one thing.
The way he carries himself. And he can dress. Those lederhosen, not that fucking bad. So that is why I am saying Jim Carrey's Grinch. Final answer.
I love the Jim Carrey version, to be honest with you.
Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Jim Carrey 100%.
The things I would do.
I think it's the confidence.
If he smiles at me at just the right way, I promise you, you will see something primal come out of me.
I don't have an answer for this.
The animated one.
Really?
Yep, the original one. Jim Carrey is...
I like it. He could do the faces. I would love to see what his O-face looks like. Remember that musical one that the dude from Glee was in? Kind of looks good. Kind of looks good as the Grinch.
The Matthew Morrison Grinch is disgusting. He is putrid. I hate the Matthew Morrison Grinch.
That is my sleep paralysis, Steven. I'm looking at photos of him right now, and I've never been more dry in my entire life.
Tumblr was obsessed with the Matthew Morrison Grinch when it came out, and it's disgusting. It's awful. Both positive and negative. It was definitely a split in the Tumblr community over this disgusting abomination of God's creation.
The original.
The cartoon one.
First of all, I mean, it's the original. You have to go with the original.
The other one, his facial expressions kind of
Let's see
turned
what
me off.
Becky has to say. Oh, original.
Boris Karloff's got the voice, but I'd have to probably go with Jim Carrey. You know, he's just more dynamic.
I think Grinch Night's my favorite. He just looks spooky. I like that he's a different Grinch design than what we've seen before. He's actually kind of scary. Like in the original one, he's just supposed to kind of be like, oh, he's kind of nasty. Like he's kind of weird. But now it's like, oh yeah, this is a Halloween cartoon, so he's supposed to be like a monster. I think that's really cool. He looks a little more cat-like too, versus like how human he looks in the Grinch cartoon. He's kind of got like the little, like the number 3 shaped like little jowls on his face.
The version of the Grinch that I think is the hottest is when Jim Carrey wears that outfit, because you can't really tell if he has clothes on underneath.
Jim Carrey. I'm not a big facial hair person, but the Grinch, Jim Carrey,
I kind of have a thing for the belly. What do?
gonna have to go with Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey's Grinch haunts my nightmares, so his design is horrifying. I do appreciate the practical effects and the makeup and the costumes, but dear God, they did not have to make him so scary. I don't like it. That's haunting to me. It's weird for me because Jim Carrey on his own, I would let Jim Carrey hit, not Jim Carrey Grinch.
I would have to say that the original cartoon is the hottest.
I'm tempted to say the 3D animated one.
Illumination Grinch is an underrated Grinch. I think he's very cool looking. Granted, I do not like Benedict Cumberbatch.
He just looks the best. The others look more wrinkly.
Illumination, for all of the hate that the minions get, and it's rightfully deserved, no offense, Killian, I really like their animation style. I think it's very clean and it's very pretty.
Cartoons are hot, so.
Jim Carrey one, right? He's a great actor. He's just hysterical. Jim Carrey, you can't beat him.
Okay, so there's Dr. Seuss and Jim Carrey.
Dr. Seuss, the cartoon.
I like to feel the pages.
It would be the Jim Carrey one.
Wow.
I don't know any of the others. You need a better question next time. Shouldn't you interview your members that you're interviewing to know what they're actually interested in?
Happy holidays. Happy holidays. And the merry bells keep singing. Happy holidays to you.